Joe Rogan, a comedian, actor, and UFC commentator, comes from diverse backgrounds in martial arts and comedy. He has strong opinions, often referred to as obnoxious, and also extremely hilarious. Joe Rogan became extremely popular for his outspokenness on controversial themes like religion, politics, or terrorism. He is also not hesitant to call out people publicly. In the past, he has publicly chastised other comedians and accused more than one of them of copying jokes. As a bodybuilder and trained martial artist, Joe Rogan has been tagged one of the physically threatening comedians around town. If I were you, I wouldn't get in his way. Today he's being rated by Forbes as the most paid podcaster with a $30 million revenue in 2020. How did Joe Rogan navigate the martial arts and comedy industries to become one of the most sought-after podcasters featuring top billionaires like Elon Musk? Keep watching as we bring you the inspiring story of Joe Rogan. Hey everyone, and welcome to Booked, where we inspire others with inspiring stories. In today's story, we'll go over the story of Joe Rogan and his journey to the top. Every success story has a beginning. And for Joe Rogan, the journey started at the age of 14 when he started practicing martial arts. Just like most people struggling to discover their potentials, Joe Rogan doubted his abilities as a child. He recalls always being afraid of being a loser as a child. But thanks to martial arts, Joe Rogan, through constant practice and hard work, developed strong self-confidence and was bold enough to face his opponents during local matches. He would go on to win the US Open Taekwondo Championship at the age of 19. Most of the time, the best way to overcome self-doubt is to go out there and look the devil in the eyes. But before you go about looking the devil in the eyes, be sure to put in a lot of practice like Joe Rogan so you don't get roasted in the lake of fire. Just kidding. But on a serious note, time and time again, we have seen that the outcome of consistent practice is always certain. Practice, they say, makes perfect. Joe Rogan's consistent practice paid off. Aside from winning the US Open, he went on to become a 4-time Massachusetts full-contact state champion. But Joe's journey into the martial arts was short-lived. He developed serious head injuries that forced him to retire from martial arts at the age of 21. And I guess I can say that his short stint at martial arts was successful. Having come to an end of a career that was quite short, Joe decided to enroll back in school. However, midway into his education at the University of Massachusetts, Joe quickly discovered that he was only going to school because other kids were going to school. His initial fear of not being tagged a loser got a better part of him and made him apply to college when he retired from martial arts. No matter how hard he tried to concentrate on his studies, Joe recalls spending most of his time in school thinking about his past career in martial arts and a growing interest in stand-up comedy. Well, like I mentioned earlier, the best way to overcome self-doubts is to look the devil in the eyes. Joe Rogan stopped thinking about what people would say or think of him and went on to drop out of college. Pause for a moment and think about your fears. What are your self-doubts? Are you discouraged by what people will think or say about you? Maybe it is time to look the devil in the eye and face your fears just like Joe Rogan did. After Joe Rogan dropped out of college, he went on to do several jobs like a newspaper delivery man, a private driver, and of course, a martial arts instructor. A key trait for Joe Rogan's success was knowing what worked at every point and not letting popular opinions influence his decisions. He could have decided to continue in school and not achieve anything significant, but his unpopular decision to drop out of school eventually launched him into the next phase of his career, the breakthrough. While doing multiple jobs to stay afloat, Joe Rogan decided to give stand-up comedy a shot. Although he was mainly active in martial arts in his teen years, Joe also developed skills in comedy. He would make his friends at the gym and in Taekwondo class laugh out loud by telling them jokes and making impersonations. Thanks to his parents who always take him to see comedy shows, Joe Rogan often recalls Richard Pryor's film Live Show. He refers to it as the funniest comedy show his parents took him to. So Joe's comedy abilities were shaped by the comedy shows he attended as a child. After much consultation, Joe Rogan decided to take a shot at his second passion after martial arts and made his debut stand-up routine at an open mic night at Boston Stitches Comedy at the age of 21. In an interview, Joe Rogan mentioned that the success of his first open mic event was a result of 6 months of constant practice before the event. He would practice in the mirror and with friends to perfect his jokes. This practice re-emphasized the impact consistent practice made on Joe's early career. Having carving a niche for himself in stand-up comedy, Joe Rogan found a way to get involved again with his first love, martial arts. Since he could no longer fight because of head injuries, in 1992, Joe joined the Ultimate Fighting Championship, providing post-fights and backstage interviews for the fighters. By 2002, he started doing full-time commentary at UFC competitions. And according to Vinayak Majoy of Essentially Sports, Rogan has interviewed some of the industry's best fighters and had a huge role in advancing the sport to where it stands today. Podcast and fame. Joe believes that to be great at anything, one has to put in some level of madness. You can't achieve a lot by playing cool. You need to put in your best and show up every day with aggression to achieve your goals. Joe Rogan also lives this quote, as he has worked in 2 different industries concurrently and still achieved success in both. Having achieved success in comedy and commentary, Joe Rogan would go on to add another feature to his career streams. In 2009, he launched his podcast to share different things, from relationships to religion, finance, and so on. He talked virtually about everything. Today, his podcasts are estimated to have over 190 million downloads monthly. These mammoth views of his podcast have earned him the title of the highest paid podcaster in the world. But it may be easy to just call the numbers and talk about the success Joe has seen in his podcast career. What is not usually discussed is his humble beginnings. When he set out to begin a podcast way back in 2009, his programs were a disaster. Some of the first videos he uploaded were a mess. According to Joe, he started podcasting for fun, and he didn't think anyone was listening or found his ideas interesting. Well, Joe, the numbers have a different thing to say. Like I've always mentioned, the consistent practice would always pay off. What started as fun has become the biggest podcast, hosting top billionaires and celebrities like Elon Musk, Sam Harris, and so on. A recent deal from Spotify saw him cash out $100 million as Spotify moves to acquire his podcasts. He also has a YouTube channel with over 9 million subscribers, which gets over 1 million views within 24 hours of publishing most videos. If you take nothing from this video, remember what brought Joe this far: consistent practice and looking the devil in the eyes. Books recommendation. One thing all successful people have in common is reading books. Joe Rogan is not an exception, as he has read tons of books on his journey to success. In this section, we'll be sharing with you a few of the books he has read. Make sure to read them to learn what inspires Joe Rogan. The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell takes us on an intellectual voyage into the world of outliers, the smartest and brightest, the most renowned and successful people. He asks an important question: what distinguishes outstanding achievers? He responds that we pay far too much attention to what successful individuals look like and far too little attention to where they came from, their culture, family, generation, and unique upbringing experiences. Along the way, he reveals the secrets of software billionaires, what it takes to be a great soccer player, why Asians excel in math, and how the Beatles became the greatest rock band of all time. If you want to be the best in your field, just as Joe Rogan is in podcasting, then grab a copy of this book and read your way to becoming an outlier. Extreme Leadership: How the U.S. Navy SEALs Lead and Win by Jocko Willink. 2 U.S. Navy SEAL commanders who led the Iraq War's most highly decorated Special Operations Unit teach how to apply military leadership principles to business and life. During their escapades in the military, through the highs and lows, they discovered that leadership, at all levels, is the most crucial determinant in whether a team succeeds or fails. Using real-life accounts of heroism, heartbreaking loss, and hard-won wins, this book will inspire you to be a better leader and achieve extraordinary results. You Are Doing Great by Tom Papa. Everyone is struggling with the overpowering sense that things are becoming worse, that we should be doing more, and that we aren't good enough. Life isn't perfect after all. There have always been and will continue to be issues. You can fight for what you believe in and work extremely hard, but you must not lose sight of that reality that while doing so, life is passing you by at a breakneck speed. You'll discover you're doing fantastic if you take a deep breath and look around. Here's the thing, we live in a fantastic era, one that includes airplanes, scooters, and peanut butter cups. Everything's happening very fast. Through it all, Tom Papa wants you to take time off and appreciate your efforts. Don't get burned out in the pursuit of success. You may just be doing fine with your current efforts. Discipline Equals Freedom by Jocko Willink. Many publications offer advice on how to overcome barriers and achieve your objectives, but this advice frequently overlooks the most important component, discipline. There will be no meaningful growth without discipline. Discipline Equals Freedom covers everything from strategies and tactics for overcoming weakness, procrastination, and fear to specific physical training presented in workouts for beginner, intermediate, and advanced athletes, as well as the best sleep habits and food intake recommended to maximize performance. What are your life goals? How often do you practice?